Some people believe the spirit stays in the body months after death. Bring Her Back comes to us from A24 and the Philippou brothers, Danny and Michael. This is their second collaboration together. The first one, a film called Talk to Me. It came out in 2023, and it was bleak, it was nightmarish, it was so dark, and it was super depressing, and it really cheered me the fuck up, because I had a great goddamn time from beginning to end. That opening was incredible, that closing shot was great, Sophie Wilde was absolutely masterful, and the movie was so goddamn haunting, with some great body horror, some great dark comedy, but man, it didn't let up. So when I heard the Philippou brothers were doing another movie with A24, I'm like, okay, I absolutely love Talk to Me. Probably going to hold it up for a majority of the review because I fucking love this movie. So I was like, all right, let's see what they're going to do. By the way, they're also doing a sequel to Talk to Me called Talk to Me. Do you get it? Do you get it? Can't wait for that. But the Philippou brothers decided to infuse more of their dark comedy and their horror takes with a mixture of grief and also some body horror effects that really goddamn hit, with Sally fucking Hawkins, as they call her from The Shape of Water, as Laura, who ends up taking on two children, well, two teenagers. You have Andy, played by Billy Barrett, not to be confused with the Barrett Barrage. Boom! Non-wrestling fans have no idea what I'm fucking talking about. And also Piper, played by Sora Wong, who actually apparently is visually impaired, so it's fitting. She plays a visually impaired young lady in this. They lose her dad, they go to stay with Laura, and Laura seems like a good foster mom. I mean, if you don't mind going to the deepest, darkest, hellish foster home, because it's very obvious actually that something is not totally right. And they're going to find out this is no ordinary way to build, upon their grief, get past it, and maybe have a second chapter of their life. So, yes, Talk to Me. Well, that had the stone hand and all that. This more deals with grief and also really ramps up the horror in the latter half. Boy, does it ever. There are some great fucking moments. This was the Regal Mystery movie that I happened to catch a special screening of, and I was thrilled. When I saw it was Horror Edition, I said, oh, please let at least one, because there's another one next week. Please let one of them be Bring Her Back. Because when I saw the trailers, and they weren't long trailers, I was like, okay, this looks really goddamn weird and fucked up, and the Philippou brothers absolutely understand how to do horror with a little bit of subtlety, but also some very haunting imagery. And I loved it. I fucking loved Bring Her Back. This is not a sophomore slump. It's a fucking great hit. I'm going to put this down because it's kind of, it's kind of tiring my hand out and everything, When you work your hands for so long and everything, your wrists get a little bit weak. Not that you need to know about that, but let's talk about this. So there also is another boy named Oliver, played by Jonah Rand Phillips, who I do have to say, tremendous, magnificent performance by this young individual. Great stuff. And also, it turns out that Laura herself has suffered some loss. I'll talk about that in the spoiler section. But certain things get set up where there are a few things, actually, if you broke down quite a bit of this, some of this doesn't necessarily entirely make sense. It is just all centered around grief and how far would you go to take care of your own grief? How far would you go to reverse something, reverse something terrible that happened to somebody that you love, shall we say? And I do have to say that Sora and Billy play off each other very, very well. And Sally is great as Laura. And also there is Sally Ann Upton, I believe is the name of the actress that plays Wendy, who's kind of the head of this, adoption center thing, whatever they call it in Australia. Oh, yes, it's in Australia again. And this is a much smaller cast than in Talk to Me. Like, I think the collection of people in the room, they were doing the stone hand thing and stuff like that. And I need to rewatch Talk to Me, actually, again, because I've watched it like 5 times and it's still fucking haunting. But that being said, what was great about that is that it did center around a few people, but it centered around really Sophie Wilde's grief. But the amount of people that were in that room doing, the partying and the stone hand stuff, I think that's more people than actually get featured in this. I mean, there are a few extra characters, but really it just centers around Andy, it centers around Laura, it centers around Piper. Wendy gets a little bit of a shout in a few scenes, and Oliver especially. Now, it's very clear that something is very fucked up in this house, and it's very clear from the opening sequence that I will talk about in the spoiler section. But I do have to say, magnificent acting. It doesn't really pull any punches, but it also sets up the finale quite well with just a simple piece of dialogue that really, really works and shows the Philippou brothers. They've dealt with their own loss. I believe the Talk to Me actually was centered around somebody that they dealt with that had some kind of addiction issues. They actually, and this is a mild spoiler, but this actually was in memory of somebody that they lost. And apparently, with the last name of Wallace, it was only 23. So obviously, it seems like a passion project for them. And I can't wait to see Talk to Me and see what else they do, because they even did a little introduction before the movie started, a little pre-recorded introduction, and it was, you can tell they have good humor and they have good stuff. But this really was very, very haunting. It's a different type of grief than in Talk to Me, or a different type of way of dealing with the grief. But it really is fucking incredible. It's really, really fucking good. And man, when it, oh God, oh, there were some scenes that were making me squirm. Not as much as the kid bashing his head in Talk to Me, but there were some parts, and yeah, I'm not gonna give too much away, but really, really good. It's gonna be in theaters, I believe, in about a week and a half. So if you want to check it out, please do. It's gonna be in theaters. Anyway, spoilers. Let's go. So, we open with VHS stuff of this weird ritual and stuff like that, and you can't really hear what's going on because it's like very satanic stuff. So then you get a bit of an idea that things are getting a little bit weird, and the theme of this is, like when like Laura ends up telling them later, some people believe that the spirit stays in the body months after death. So Andy happens upon his dad, who slipped in the shower. Now, we find him slipped in the shower, and because Piper is visually impaired, we see certain images where it's like, okay, we find out a few things a little bit later. Did he really slip and hit his head? Did somebody kill him? Was he really that great of a guy? So their nickname for each other is Grapefruit. I don't know if that's an Australian thing. Whatever. I really don't know. But Sally is phenomenal in this. From the moment that Wendy says, oh, we're going to place you with her, they were going to split them up. Andy is going to become 18 in a few months and wanted to possibly get guardianship, but can't do that yet. So they have to go stay with Laura. Laura means well, but she's very, very clearly off her goddamn rocker. She has a stuffed dog that she teases Piper with. Piper again, visually impaired. And Andy clearly senses something's wrong and describes, how the boy looks and everything. How Oliver looks. Oliver, by the way, who is in this empty pool, and this cat gets out and strangles the cat, or tries to strangle the cat. I had to come home and pet my own cat afterwards. Because I don't like seeing animal violence. I do want to say any animal violence generally is off screen. I do like that about the Philippou brothers. Thank you guys. I feel like they're gonna fucking watch this. But if you happen to be, thank you very much for watching. And also thank you for not showing certain bits of animal violence. Oliver doesn't really speak. Is shaved head, all kinds of that, all this weird stuff's going on. Oh, yes, and there's also this white circle around the house. That's a salt circle. Because it's a ritual that's going to be taking place. What kind of ritual is it? I'll get to that in a bit. She lost her daughter, Kathy, in a drowning accident in a pool. We find out, a few more details right near the end of the movie. And even at one point, Andy is doing some kind of protein powder or taking liquid or powdered steroids or whatever the fuck he's taking to work out and do all this, and we find out why he's kind of trying to get stronger and everything, because let's just say the dad wasn't exactly a very nice guy. And Oliver's acting a little bit weird. Has to be locked in the room. Laura even says at one point, I know you're hungry. You just got to wait a bit longer. Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. Then Andy is kind of pranked, shall we say. It's kind of set up so he's going to look like his dad would, because I'm going to jump ahead a bit here. The dad used to hit Andy, because once he married Piper's mom, he felt that he had the kid he always wanted and didn't appreciate Andy, who was his actual son as well. And Andy would even act out in school just to get his attention. And I'm not saying that's okay, but you don't abandon your goddamn child just because you happen to marry into another relationship. So, Andy, has some anger issues, stuff like that, has been doing workout stuff, and it turns out the dad actually was abusive, and he kept that from Piper. And he did hit Piper at one point because he was acting out. That's when they were way, 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 way younger. And he's hated himself for it. But going back a bit, there's a locked shed with a freezer. There's some chickens. Some of the chickens don't make it, let me just say that, but again, that's off camera. The cat seems to make it, I think. I don't recall seeing the dead cat. But that being said, we get more hints that Laura is completely off her rocker. She's watching these VHS tapes of like this weird ritual. And there's one point where Piper's being taken into town by Laura, so Andy's going to be watching Oliver. Andy lets Oliver out and is going to cut up some goddamn, cantaloupe, or I think it's cantaloupe. Cut up some melon and puts a pen and pad, or a pencil and pad down, and says, "Hey, you got, if you can communicate with me like this, I would appreciate it. This fruit doesn't come free." He writes something. Oliver writes something. But then he goes to hand him the goddamn, fruit on the knife. He grabs the knife, and he's eating the fruit. And then he's eating the goddamn knife, and it's splayed his mouth. It's, Philip Bros, what happened in your life that you do this stuff? It's awesome, but what the fuck? But man, that was just fucking brutal. Oh. And then a little bit later, he tries to take him out of the house. Gets beyond the salt circle, starts freaking out. Laura gets home, wondering what the hell happened. Thinks that maybe Oliver got abused. But she puts that on, but she actually knows what fucking happened. And then there is something at one point where she's actually like, she's talking to... She's trying to communicate with somebody in a room, and suddenly she puts on the speakers, "Untouched" by the Veronicas. I have not heard of that duo. I have not heard that song in years. I used to actually have that album. That didn't hook me up. I actually don't remember any other songs they were. They were cute, I'll say that much. But were they Australian? Is that why they were in there? So... the idea basically is Andy is not doing all that well. We have Laura pranking him and trying to make it look like he's losing his mind, pissing, making him look like he's pissing the bed. She's actually squatting down, pissing in a jar and pouring it on him. And she's messing with him and stuff like that because she wants Piper. Now, why does she want Piper? Well, she lost her daughter. She wants Piper to be her new daughter. She actually wants Piper to be her old daughter. Because, turns out Oliver ain't exactly a normal kid. As if the knife eating wasn't actually indicating that to you. So, we get more info about this ritual. You're supposed to... It's like an eating thing. You're supposed to mimic the death. So... mimic the drowning in the pool, consume the old body, and then purge the soul into the new body. Now, Kathy, clearly, you can't, her old body isn't anywhere. Oh, it's in the freezer. It's in the freezer. And despite the fact that Andy earlier, or a little bit during this, hit his head, slipping because he's seen his dad's body, implying that maybe he killed him. Which, hate to say it, if you're an abusive parent, you kind of have that coming. Just saying that. But he slips and hits his head. He's taken to the hospital. which gives Laura more time to be there with Piper. She says, oh, your hair, it's just like, it's just like Kathy's and stuff like that. And you can wear this, it's Kathy's. And Oliver, mind you, is starting to lose it more and more and more because Andy, before hitting his head, found the word bird on the notepad. Then, after recovering, he goes to the goddamn, he goes home, then realizes, shit, I need to go to the goddamn, foster care place, whatever the fuck they call it again over there, and talks to Wendy. And says, oh yeah, by the way, things are really, really fucked up over there. She's not who she seems. Because he had gotten angry and hit the wall. And because Piper is visually impaired, she's going on hearing. She's going on seeing shapes and, shapes and light. But she can't see all the stuff that's going on. Perfect prey, perfect conduit to bring her daughter back. And Wendy says, okay, I'll tell you what, let's go to the goddamn house. First mistake right there, not taking the authorities. Meanwhile, Oliver has kind of snapped, has killed some chickens in the interim, also ended up tearing up a countertop with his teeth, biting at it. That was gut-bustingly hilarious. And then rips at Sally's arm. Just rips it. Just rips the skin. And is ripping at his own skin. Eating his own skin. God! Again, Philippou Brothers, what the fuck? So, essentially, now things are totally fucked. Wendy gets there. The house is mostly cleaned up, despite the fact that Oliver has ripped all this stuff apart and done what I described. Piper's not doing all that well. There's a thing where she had a hit eye, or like a black eye, or a bruised eye, and was also doing some kind of like sensory deprivation thing where she can use her other senses, like hearing, like to play sports at this place that's just suddenly there for other visually impaired children. It's great, it's there, it just kind of came out of nowhere. But Andy is trying to get Wendy to go back there, so they go back there. Wendy talks to Laura, and then Laura pretty much spills the goddamn beans. Says, oh, we can't, it's like, you're bleeding, Wendy says. Oh, I found a way, Kathy. I found a way to bring her back. And Wendy's like, well, this is fucked. Let's get out of here. So she gets, her and Andy are, racing to the goddamn car, and then suddenly an SUV type thing comes in, and she runs over Wendy. Great death, by the way. And Andy is fucked, and she drowns him in a goddamn puddle. So there's that. By the way, the pool had been empty this whole time, but the pool's starting to fill because conveniently all this rain's going. So mind you, before their deaths, Andy ends up interrupting the consuming by Oliver of Kathy's body. By the way, Oliver is not Oliver. Oliver was featured in a home video, but is actually a boy named Connor Bird, who's been missing for 13 days. And she basically just mutilated and fucked that kid up in less than 2 weeks. So, there was a bit of an earlier thing when she put, had Kathy put, Piper put on Kathy's thing. She's talking, during this whole, maybe you could even call me mom at some point. Oh, maybe, this kind of stuff. But we were looking forward to getting our own place, but we'd come visit you. Well, that's not going to happen now. Piper senses something's wrong, but she can't see very well. And then, basically, she tries to get away. Oliver's trying to get at her because Oliver Connor is not doing all that well. She manages to throw something at Laura, but unfortunately, she doesn't account for her surroundings, hits a door frame, and is now being dragged into the pool where she's going to be drowned. While Oliver Connor is coming down. You're the next contestant on Possessed is Right. And the idea is you have to mimic the death, so you got to drown Piper, and then that's going to create a conduit for the spirit to come back in. I don't think Laura thought this through, but the idea is, I'm just crumbling on my notes. I actually really did enjoy this movie, just had to take care of that. But, essentially, well, she's being drowned, this kind of stuff, and Oliver Connor's just standing there because what else is a possessed child going to do? and suddenly she comes back up for air, Piper does, and calls her mom. That breaks Laura enough that she's able to get away, and then she's able to take off for a nearby road, gets rescued by a couple people, and I think Oliver Connor had it and basically broke the salt circle and is like all rotting away. Laura gets her daughter Kathy's body out of the freezer and is hugging her in the pool as authorities arrive. And one thing that was like a theme was, a plane taking off. Oh, that's just somebody going up to heaven. There's no burning. There's no body being buried. They just get taken up in a plane. And there's that. Andy had left a voicemail for Piper to listen to. And it was beautifully done. She got rescued. The ending was a bit rushed. A little. I mean, if there's like one quibble I have is that it was rushed. But I will say, this movie built so goddamn well that like 95 to 98% of it, I don't care if there's a little bit of a quibble. I'm not even saying Talk to Me is absolutely perfect. It just really cheered me up despite the bleak depression. But Bring Her Back is very, very tremendous. It shows the depths of grief and the depths of depravity, because I think the Philippou brothers have some explaining to do. But I loved it. A+. Agree, disagree what I said? Like, share, subscribe. Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rentlin. I'll see you soon.